Welcome to the final experiments. The final experiments are a preponderance of evidence against flat Earth. And the final experiments all confirm the globe. These experiments were all conducted in December of 2024 when 4 flat earthers and 4 globers went on a journey to Antarctica with me, Will Duffy. We spent time in Punta Arenas, Chile, which is at the southern tip of South America, before flying to Antarctica. This entire trip allowed us to conduct historic experiments and collect data firsthand from an area of the world that few people will ever have the opportunity to visit and do this themselves. Prior to my announcement of the final experiment in early 2024, a vast majority of flat earthers, with very few exceptions, promoted the Gleason's map of the world, which is an azimuthal equidistant projection. This map had the North Pole at the center and pushed the South to the outer perimeter of the known world. This made Antarctica an ice wall perimeter around all the world's continents, which served to hold in all the world's oceans, as flat earthers claim water must have a container. It also extends the entire southern hemisphere into a larger and larger area, where on the globe, everything south of the equator gets closer and closer together. This made being at the southern tip of South America and in Antarctica the perfect place to test flat Earth claims and also confirm the globe predictions. Every single flat Earth claim failed. Every flat Earth prediction was demonstrably false. The final experiments are meant to be taken collectively, just like evidence in a court of law. Undoubtedly, flat earthers will attempt to discredit individual experiments we did, while at the same time ignoring the rest. If they cannot provide an accurate map of the world and a working model that can account for the results of all of these final experiments collectively, that is because we do not live on a flat Earth. If they try to say these experiments are not actual experiments, but only observations, that is because they cannot reconcile our findings with a flat Earth. If they say that flat Earth does not make predictions, that is because making accurate and testable predictions based on a flat Earth is impossible, because a flat Earth does not exist. You cannot make and test predictions based on something that is not real. Maps of the globe exist because the globe exists. The entire globe model exists because the globe exists. Countless globe predictions come true every single day, and countless future globe predictions will continue to happen exactly as predicted because the globe exists. If a flat earther tells you that there is no accurate flat Earth map and there is no working flat Earth model and that they don't make predictions, that is an implicit admission that a flat Earth does not exist, because you can map things that exist. You can model things that exist, and you can make very specific predictions that come true based on something that actually exists and is testable. I created the final experiment to give both sides, flat Earth and globe, an equal opportunity to prove their side. Only the globe side returned with evidence supporting their position. The globe side returned with tons of concrete evidence that both accurately matches the globe model and also falsifies flat Earth. This brings us to weight variation based on latitude. We had a very important participant with us in Antarctica on the globe side. His name is Critical Think.
Well, Well, g'day flatties and reality defenders. This is Critical Think from Down Under. Thank you.
Critical Think, or CT for short, was an instrumental part of TFE. First, as we covered in a previous video, he took the non-stop flight between Sydney, Australia and Santiago, Chile, both on his way to Antarctica and on his way home from Antarctica for TFE. This flight makes perfect sense on a globe and would be impossible on a flat Earth. Flat Earthers said for years that this very flight was fake and would not work on a flat Earth and would prove the globe. And surprise, they no longer stick with what they said once it was demonstrated that this flight is indeed real and travels non-stop without crossing the equator, staying in the southern hemisphere the entire time. But Critical Think didn't join TFE in Antarctica just so he could take a non-stop flight that he already knew was real. CT had much bigger plans in mind. He wanted to show the world that we live on a rotating globe. More specifically, an oblate spheroid. For over 6 years now, CT has been traveling the world, taking very precise measurements that confirm 3 things concerning the globe: rotation, curvature, and gravity. Now you will start to see why having CT and his experiment with us in Antarctica were so crucial. Before we get into the details of his experiment, we need to do what we do best here at TFE, and that is bring receipts. Going back to the beginning of TFE, we have always provided receipts of what those on the flat Earth side have claimed, and this was done so as to not strawman the flat Earth model. Once again, let's listen to a flat earther, this time Phuket word, talk about the globe's prediction of a weight variation based on latitude.
The 20 questions guy goes on about the difference in the weight of things at the equator compared to other places in the Earth. Have you actually gone and measured it? Have you ever done it? We understand that in the model, based on the spin and centrifugals, centripetal whatever forces, that's the result that you can calculate based on your model. But has anyone actually gone and measured this so-called difference? Has anyone actually measured that a kilogram weighed in somewhere up north is any different to a kilogram weighed on the equator? Has anyone actually gone and done that? No, they have not. A kilogram is a kilogram wherever you are on the Earth.
Well, Phuket word, it's your lucky day. Because Critical Think has done exactly what you claim no one has done. And not only that, he has accurately predicted these variations in weight before doing the actual tests. And this is part of what is known as the scientific method. Only the globe side participates in the scientific method, and here's a quick refresher on what the scientific method is and how it works.
In general, we look for a new law by the following process. First, we guess it. Then we well, don't laugh, that's really true. Then we compute the consequences of the guess to see what, if this is right, if this law that we guessed is right, we see what it would imply, and then we compare those computation results to nature, or we say compare to experiment or experience, compare it directly with observation to see if it works.
If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science.
Predictions are the name of the game when it comes to science. Flat earthers go out of their way to avoid making predictions and to avoid doing experiments to test predictions, and we all know why. Historically, every time they actually made a prediction, it was wrong. You can't go to Antarctica.
We're not allowed to go to Antarctica, okay? We're not allowed to go to Antarctica.
There is no 24-hour sun in the south.
We do not have a 24-hour sun in the south.
The South Pole doesn't exist.
No one's at the South Pole because there is no South Pole.
No one has ever crossed Antarctica.
Nobody has actually really gone all the way across Antarctica.
Non-stop flights in the southern hemisphere don't exist.
It has yet to be proven that these flights even exist, since no unedited video footage exists online, and every time flat earthers have attempted to book the non-stop flight, it fails to go through, gets cancelled and refunded days before departure, or changes to a non-direct flight.
You can't circumnavigate north to south.
All you'd have to do to prove the Earth's a ball and shut this stupid flat earther up is fly over Antarctica and pop back up on the other side. That's impossible on a flat Earth. It's called north to south circumnavigation. Never been done in the history of mankind, and it's illegal to even try to do it.
The list goes on and on. Instead of realizing the pattern here, they have decided to stop making predictions altogether, and as far as I can tell, have no interest in any future experimentation that follows the scientific method. The globe model is so robust that there are countless predictions that can be made based on the globe, and they will all happen just as predicted. One such prediction is not well known, but is an incredibly powerful one. And I will let CT give an overview of his experiment.
Now, why is this experiment so fabulous? I mean, I love this experiment. And I've explained this before, but here we go again. The results are sort of unexpected. I mean, who would think that as you go towards the equator, you're going to weigh just a little bit less? And this little bit less is in fact measurable. And it's a non-optical observation, no refraction required. You know, there's a lot of flatties, they come and ask me, oh, do you have a non-optical evidence of curvature? Oh, yes, we do. It's this experiment, non-optical, no geometric horizon required. Isn't that good news? And there is no flat Earth explanation for this naturally observed phenomenon. It's observable, testable, repeatable, and falsifiable. And anyone can do the experiment. Even flat earthers could do it if they really tried, and I know one that has. Now, if there was no R, it would not work. So when flatties say you're going to need an R for that, well, if you didn't have R, this wouldn't work at all. So yes, we have an R for that. And if there was no rotation, it would not work as well. So not only do we have an R, we have rotation. Everything you need to disprove the flat and stationary Earth.
Now, the predictions made for these weight differences based on what latitude you are at on the globe are based on the World Geodetic System, which precisely defines the shape of the Earth, which gives a basis for a coordinate system which can be used to locate points on the Earth's surface, which can then be used for mapping and navigation, among other important things. The latest World Geodetic System version was established in 1984 and goes by the acronym WGS-84. So if you ever see this license plate on the road, you will now understand that this is not just another random license plate, but rather a custom personalized plate. And if you see this plate, go ahead and pull up next to the vehicle, and you may or may not see Ruhif behind the wheel. WGS-84 states that the Earth is an ellipsoid or spheroid and not a perfect sphere. This is important because certain predictions based on the globe model would actually differ if we lived on a sphere versus an ellipsoid. Now, before CT shows us what he does for this experiment, There is some basic knowledge you must have to understand his experiment, starting with the difference between weight and mass. Many people talk about mass when they mean weight, and vice versa. It's beyond the scope of this video to teach the difference, but basically mass is the amount of matter an object has, and that does not change based on location on the globe. But weight, on the other hand, is the force exerted on an object by gravity. When the experiment shows that the weight changes by latitude, the mass remains the same. The change seen on the scale is a change in the gravitational force, which has predictable and measurable differences based on the location on a rotating spheroid. Seeing as flat earthers reject not only the globe, but also gravity, a change in weight based on latitude would be confirmation of the globe and leave the flat earth position with absolutely no explanation for this anomaly. Hear CT talk about the math behind the predictions, which are based not just on a globe, but a rotating spheroid.
These two forces, we can predict what anything should weigh anywhere on the Earth to within a small percentage. I mean, there's going to be variations. It's not going to be perfect. So you'll see that the gravitational force gets smaller as the R gets bigger. So at the equator, where the Earth is a little bit fatter, the gravitational force will be a little bit less because of that. And also the centrifugal force gets greater as you get further away from the center of the Earth. So there's two things there to make something lighter at the equator. It also means that as you go up a mountain, for example, this will change because your R is different now and your weight will get lighter as well. Another thing to note is that Fy will get smaller as you move away from the equator. So the latitude increases, cos theta gets smaller, the radius of rotation gets a lot smaller, and so this centrifugal component will become less and less. At the same time, the gravitational component will become a little bit larger because the R will decrease slightly because of the oblate shape of the Earth. So the net effect is as you move away from the equator, the weight will increase. So here I've worked an example. So if I were to take 1,000 grams of weight and weigh it on an accurate scale at the equator and then go to 30 degrees latitude without recalibrating the scale, then it should weigh 1001.31 grams. Now that is a very small change. So you can see if you want to measure this, you're going to need an accurate and stable scale.
Now this is highly technical, but no one said math and science were easy. If we want to do real science, we must move past elementary arguments such as it looks flat to me and I don't feel any rotation. Again, anyone can see for themselves the variation in weight with just an inexpensive scale. Listen as CT goes over the steps he completes at each new location where he performs this experiment.
Now I've taken measurements at temperature, magnetic field, pressure, and GPS position and elevation. I did try to get accelerometer readings, but I found they're too unreliable, so I didn't include those. Now here's the method. I leveled the scales. They have adjustable feet and a bubble indicator of level. Weigh 500 grams on each scale, including the portable one. Swap the weights on scales 1 and 2, and then weigh two 500-gram weights on the one scale on scale 1 and scale 2, because scale 3 only went to 500. take my environment readings, and I've recorded all readings in here.
CT's experiment has been conducted 140 times all over the world, spanning 6 continents. And the best part? Anyone can do this. All you need is a $20 scale, which means the flat earther's typical response of calling this fake or calling critical think a liar won't work, as anyone can see this for themselves with just a very inexpensive scale. But as I mentioned, I have not seen any flat earthers who are interested in experimentation and following the scientific method. Now, predictions are at the heart of real science, and watch CT make predictions for the final experiment for both Punta Arenas, Chile, and Union Glacier, Antarctica, 2 places he'd never been.
Now I've conglomerated all my measurements, combined them along with other people's measurements, and you see it's nicely clustered around the rotating spheroid model, which is a very, very powerful evidence. And as I've shown before with statistical analysis, the chances are that this is all just a mistake and by accident is 0 point something with more than 20 zeros after it, and 1. The chances of that being an accident. So this is pretty powerful and great evidence that yes, we live on a globe, and yes, it's rotating. And when we go to Punta Arenas, we're expecting a number in this area, and at Union Glacier, we're expecting a number in this area.
That video was released November 23rd, 2024, a little over 2 weeks before our trip. And those predictions were made based on WGS 84, which states that we live on a rotating spheroid. And here is the most important part. Those predictions differ not only from what is expected on a flat Earth, which is no variation whatsoever. Those predictions also differ from a rotating sphere that is not a spheroid. Yes, this experiment accurately predicts a variation in weight based on specifically a rotating spheroid, while simultaneously predicting that weight variations which would be expected on a rotating sphere will not be observed. This is how science is done. Now let's watch what happened when CT conducted his experiment at Union Glacier while we were all in Antarctica for TFE.
I've got something very important to do with the weight measurement at Union Glacier. I've got to repeat it in a more stable environment, and here we are. I'm going to turn this around. Here we are in the dining hall, and I've got this set up on the serving bench, which is probably the most level place in the whole Union Glacier. So I've got 0.1 degrees there, and 0.1. This is the best place to do the measurement. So we're going to go ahead with the best scale I got, which the prediction is 1003.80. So down there outside it was 1003. We weighed around about 76. So in here, a little bit more stable environment, it's a little bit more 1,000, but it's still 1003 is settled down to 0.82, which is 0.02 of a gram from what was predicted.
We are talking about accuracy here down to hundredths of a gram. That is incredible precision, and a stunning prediction. And of course, is only possible because we live on a globe. The flat Earth prediction is that the weight would remain the same regardless of location because they reject the globe, rotation, and gravity. Now, flat earthers have desperately tried to explain why things weigh differently based on latitude, and these attempts all fall short. Here is CT talking about some of them.
So what have been the flat earth cult objections? Well, we've had straight up denial, which is something that you heard in that video clip. And I know David Weiss has also denied that this actually can be measured. There's arguments about, it's the air density, the air temperature, the air pressure, or magnetic field. Well, those effects are very minimal, and I'll demonstrate through the statistical analysis that's all of those things. I have before demonstrated that there's no correlation between the weight and those things. And so they're just random effects that are not going to randomly put your weight into the exact reading that matches the globe model. No. Random variations in density, air temperature, air pressure, and magnetic field are not going to do that. They're going to produce random results, not a correlated result. And Raichi has said, there could be variations in gravity. Okay, so you're admitting gravity exists now. And there's people have said, yes, that's very good, but I think you need to repeat the experiment. Well, I've done it a lot of times already. It's been repeated and repeated ad nauseum. And some people have said, you don't have a dependent or independent variable. That's obviously false as well. And another flat earther, my jeweler says, blah, 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 blah. So your jeweler's a physics expert now. That's a bit like asking your hairdresser what's wrong with your car. And you go to the mechanic and you say, my hairdresser says this is wrong with the car. And the mechanic's going to look at you very strange and go, What, really? So I've even been told that, because there's no mainstream media mention of this, then he hasn't heard of it in the mainstream media, then it's not real. And how can some random dude on the internet, that's me, have any credibility when, no other scientist is whatever or TV channel or whatever has mentioned it? Like I said, well, maybe it is that I'm breaking new ground here and I am now perhaps the subject matter expert on this experiment. And again, I have to ask, well, what happened to do your own research? Is that gone by the by now? Oh dear, oh dear. And I will debate anybody on this topic. Bring it on. A neutral platform for debate, that is. Not one of those platforms where the mute button is overused.
Now, he mentioned Raichi as that video is almost 3 years old. Raichi is no longer a flat earther. When a flat earther says once you go flat, you never globe back, that is simply false. And as you heard, CT said he will debate anyone on his experiment. But no flat earther seems to want to. I wonder why. This graph shows the cumulative measurements plotted out from all of the locations where his experiment has been conducted. As you can see, they clearly follow what is expected on a rotating spheroid based on WGS 84, which is the green line. The magenta line is what would be expected on a rotating sphere, meaning not a spheroid. The brown line is what would be expected on a stationary spheroid, and the blue line is what would be expected on a flat Earth. This is very powerful evidence of the globe, curvature, and gravity. And there is simply no explanation for this whatsoever on a flat Earth. 2 weeks before we all departed for the final experiment, flat earther Phuket Word posted this on X. He said, "Flat Earth is obviously reality, but globe believers love to claim that weight predictably changes with latitude. but even professional scale makers cannot prove this globe assumption. Well, Critical Think not only predicted a precise weight variation in Chile and Antarctica, his predictions were also correct. To learn more about CT's experiment, head on over to his channel on YouTube and subscribe. Make sure to check out his playlist called Evidence for Earth Rotation, where he conducts his experiment all over the world. I originally created the final experiment specifically to observe and record the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. But every step of the way through our journey, other flat Earth predictions kept being falsified, and the globe model was confirmed over and over and over again. Make sure to check out all of these and our other videos in the Final Experiments series. And please share this video with anyone you know who is a flat earther or considering flat Earth. As Jesus said in John 8:32, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Goes on about the difference in the weight of things at the equator compared to other places in the Earth. Have you actually gone and measured it? Have you ever done it? We understand that in the model, based on the spin and centrifugals, centripetal whatever forces, that's the result that you can calculate based on your model.
Yes, we did.
But has anyone actually gone and measured this so-called difference? Has anyone actually measured that a kilogram weighed in the, somewhere up north is any different to a kilogram weighed on the equator?
Yep, we've done
Has
that.
anyone actually gone and done that?
Yep.
No, they have not.
Oh, no.
A kilogram is a kilogram wherever you are on the Earth.
But we've done it.